Okay, everybody. Hi, welcome. This is the presentations for the BigBlueButton Developer Summit 8. My name is Fred Dixon. I'm the product manager for BigBlueButton. It's my pleasure to introduce Tyler Copeland, who has been working on the design of BigBlueButton longer than anybody else. In fact, he was among the first people that worked on the project back on 2008. And in the last few months, we have been doing a refresh and rethink of the UI for the BigBlueButton client, specifically for mobile and HTML5. So I'm going to turn it over to Tyler, and he can give you an update on our progress so far for updating the UI for BigBlueButton. Go ahead, Tyler.
Thanks for the introduction, Fred. It was good to reflect this week back on just some earlier designs and just to see how far things have gone. It's really great to have everyone here in the same room and just working together on updating the client as far as the design side of things. So this is the 8th summit. It's crazy to think that we're already at number 8, but it's been a great week, and hopefully everyone enjoys the presentation. So I'm going to get started here with giving everyone an update on where we are on the design side of things for the HTML5 client. And when we say HTML5 client, we mean the new client that we're working on that will be a cross-platform. It'll be on the web, the tablet, and mobile devices. So this overview, this presentation will consist just the motivations around changing and updating the UI, what some of our main goals are, just the client designs, and our next steps. So the real motivations with updating the UI were around giving a refresh of the client. It's been several years now that we've been working with the Flash client, and with new technology that have been coming out, we can do a lot of really cool things. So that was one thing. Just users are now expecting a more modern UI. So when they're going from Facebook to LinkedIn to Gmail, they're expecting certain things, and when they come into the existing client, they're not currently seeing those items. So that was another change. Just the user feedback. BigBlueButton's deployed in many universities across the States and in Europe, and we've just been collecting feedback and come in the kind of the frustration points where people are currently with a client. So those are another drivers. Consistency across platforms. Like I mentioned earlier, with the technology like HTML5, we're able to build user interfaces across multiple devices a lot easier now. And we'd love to just make the experience easier for teachers and students across all platforms. So the initial designs for the HTML5 client actually go back about at least a year and a half now. It was one of the summits, I believe, was that I didn't actually make it out to, but it was in Porto Alegre. And we had a good first approach. It was modern, clean UI. But one of the biggest downsides of that designs that I created, we really didn't focus on mobile. So I'll walk you through a couple of those initial designs that I created. So here you see very clean UI. We have the top navigation that you currently see within the Flash client. We have all the buttons on the left-hand side. We have your settings and signing out here. We have at the bottom controls for the user or for the presenter. And then if you look on the right-hand side, here's an extended view to incorporate the video, the chat, and the web and the presentation. From here, for the feedback from our folks, we built this UI, which has a lot more modern look. It could break down into mobile designs or mobile screens, and just between the two, I think it allowed us to move forward with the project. It gave the developers something to build on top of, but it wasn't really a true design start to finish from the mobile tablet to the web experience. So what we did was we really revisited our product design goals as a whole before we begin the design exercise that you'll see in a couple minutes. So when we thought, what can we do on revamping our design goals is focusing mobile first. We want to see a unified experience from mobile, tablet, and the web. do just general things that user expect to do when they come to a client, focus a lot on accessibility, and make sure that the UI is structured in the way that developers can build on. So here we took the mobile phone approach first. So we thought, how do we take this existing UI that we have for the Flash client, and how do we eliminate some of the components, or how do we create a very, very simple experience with limited items on the screen that a user or participant can consume a presentation? So all these links can be provided to you later, but right now this is one wireframe and user flow that I created to really understand how a user, or participant I should say, would be able to go through the mobile client and consume a presentation. So here you have the presenter screen with some limited buttons, chat, user list, chat, etc. So from here, once we really nailed down a basic user flow for the participants, we then went into some high fidelity UI design. So as you see here, here's the first screens we created for the mobile, where very simple, clear call to action as far as buttons for the user to do. So you're muting your mic on and off, your webcam, and you're raising your hands. From there, we have the buttons on the top navigation, where there's the chat bubble on the left-hand side, which will open up a list of users, and a standard ... which is your settings within the UI. It provided examples with what a portrait PDF presentation would look like, and your standard public chat or standard chat that you see today in the Flash client on mobile, as well as your settings. So once we built this, we realized that we had the foundation and the design patterns to be able to move forward with the tablet as well as the web experience. Before I jump to that, I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview as what this view looks like on landscape. So the way we built this design is that it's, if your portrait, landscape, mobile phone, tablet, or different size of the web browser, this design will look good and consistent across all experiences. So now here's a tablet view. You can see it's really just a larger version of the mobile screens. The portrait on the left-hand side, this is what a user's participants list would look like. It would pop open if the user selects the icon located in the top left-hand corner. And then from here, this is a landscape. So again, consistency across the board as far as going from portrait, mobile phone, to portrait, tablet, landscape, tablet. And next, here's an exploration here on the tablet, incorporating some of the web elements, the settings in a modal. To finally, here's the web experience. This is a drilled down version of just what a presenter would see for the first time. Uploading the presentation, you have your whiteboard controls, your controls for your presentation. Finally, participants list, public chat, your presentation. So this here would be your standard presenter's view, seeing the participants, who's in the presentation, your standard public chat, being able to see everyone that's chatting, and the same, your presentation, your whiteboard controls, etc. So again, just a consistency. If I go back and forth here in the presentation, you can see a lot of consistency across the board, depending on what view you're viewing the session. From here, what I've done is we really identified what the new BigBlueButton styles look like. So now it's really focusing on documenting what I've done, and what I started was a style guide for BigBlueButton. So identifying what are colors, what's the standard typography, what buttons now do we introduce into the interface, so that when we hand it off to the developers to either develop or extend the UI, they'll have everything they need so that they can make sure that it's a consistent look and feel depending on what they're building on top of the existing client. One thing when we started developing the HTML5 client was that we started to hit a wall when it came to icons. There's a lot of existing libraries out there like Font Awesome, which we tested for a little while with the HTML5 client, but we quickly realized that we were limited. So what I've done, I should say, is I created a custom UI library for this client. So I built them in Illustrator, exported them as SVG, and from there created a font out of those SVG files so that the developers can now just reference these icons through CSS. Here, oh, they didn't come through as clickable links. Sorry about that, guys. But afterwards, we could share these links. They're all InVision projects that anyone that's just part of the community can go to and leave comments, as well as for the developers. Here's the icon set that you can go to. It's a Google Drive folder. Now it leads to, so that's an overview of where we've gotten to as far as the UI designs. But one specific challenge that I focused on in the summit was how do developers build on top of the existing UI that we've landed on for BigBlueButton. So the challenge started with taking a client's existing UI. So here's an example of a client which has 6 presentation screens, a public chat, users list, as well as the webcam. So the challenge was taking this existing Flash client and then adapting it using the new designs and design languages that I've created. So you might have seen this earlier in the presentation, but here's a standard layout for the BigBlueButton client. This is the presenter's view. At a bare minimum, what we have on the screen is icon on the left-hand side, participants list, title, more, presentation area, actions button. So if you're familiar today with the Flash client, on the top left-hand corner, you have your sharing your webcam, sharing your, sorry, not sharing your webcam, but your presentation, your desktop share, etc. That will all be found underneath your actions menu now. So including a webcam, you can see it's placed here on the left-hand side. We want the participants list. We have this module now on the left-hand side. That's the full height of the screen. We have the public chat now. Sorry, guys. So you can see how at a bare minimum, we have the presentation, but as you introduce new things into the UI, the UI just is modular and adaptable based on what you've selected. So now going back to the earlier screens that you saw and leveraging the designs that I've created, here's your 6-screen presentation example. So we have this grid system here where if these were all presentations, they would list 6 here. If there were 8, we could, you can introduce 4 across the top, 4 on the bottom. But even if you wanted to take the whole presentation concept out and had a webcam example where, imagine this was just a webcam only scenario where you had six webcams and this is how you're consuming the presentation. So from here, if we wanted to now bring in other elements, this is what the view would look like. You have your users list, your public chat. We have presentation areas that are adaptable. Your webcam's presented here. And next would be if you were a developer and you wanted to create a new module. And the module that we landed on for this design challenge was public notes. So how would someone from this example introduce public notes? So what we've done was back to your actions button, where this is where the presenter is able to do all their actions from uploaded presentations, desk share, whiteboard, etc. This is where, as a developer, you would create one new item within the actions button, would be public notes. The presenter would click the public notes, and then you would see a module appear on the right-hand side. So as a developer, if you're creating a new module, they would come in. We're proposing that they would come in on the right-hand side so they don't interrupt the public chat or participants. And this is an example of public notes. It could be anything from audio controls to whatever. It's just a general area that we're proposing where developers to build on top of. And then the next slide is an example of a participant's view where, okay, now I notice the button here is notes. So now I know that in this session we can create or we can contribute to public notes. And if you were to back out of it, that's a way to get back into the public notes. So for me, the design side of things, the next steps was to just get feedback from the community. Love to hear your thoughts. conduct some usability testings on the wireframes that we created. I've created this framework. We have some folks that are more than happy to contribute. Once the framework's finalized, we're going to reach out to individuals, record the sessions, and just get general feedback on their thoughts on the new UI. And I'm going to be assisting the developers on implementation. So if the developers need any help, or we realize we've missed this component, the developers will reach out to me, and I will either design or assist them at that point. So that's everything. Again, any questions and answers, I would love to leave it to the folks here who've joined the session just to let me know your thoughts.
So yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to type them in the chat. Lots of updates you can see coming to the UI. So some of you will probably, when if you're watching this recording, again, you'll see it in a short time in the future. We're going to publish a blog post with the links that Tyler had, so they're really easy to click on. And you will be able to see pretty closely where we're headed in terms of the UI. And we've been working on this for months, actually. Well, months past, and we've iterated and iterated it. So this is our chance to kind of share with you, definitely get feedback. We're always looking to refine it. And this is what you're going to see the UI for BigBlueButton to evolve into. So we'll just wait for a few minutes here if anyone has any specific questions. So the availability, so this UI is the work that's being done right now on the HTML5 client and the mobile client being the Air app. So that will be using this UI for the mobile experience. And what we've done recently is sort of brought it forward so it would be on the web experience as well. Our goal is to get to a unified UI. And in terms of release, the HTML5 client is in parallel development right now. We're working on the 1.0 release. We'll be working on the 1.1. This new UI will not be in 1.1. We're kind of hoping to get 1.1 out a bit earlier than our normal year-long development cycle. But I think you're going to see this UI in what we're going to call 2.0. And just in terms of timeline, 1.0 is pretty much, it's in release Canada right now. We're going to get 1.1 out. You'll see it in beta at some point soon. And again, and then we're developing a new UI on the HTML5 client and the mobile client. You'll see those throughout the year as they're in development. And then you'll see this new UI land in the client in 2.0. So I'm not sure what you said by 1.1 is greater than 2.0. 2.0 will be based on 1.1 and we'll have the new UI on the web. The HTML5 client and the mobile client, these are on separate development paths that are not tied to the major release. We are literally working on them in parallel. And you will see this UI, the UI that Tyler showed, surface in the HTML5 client and the mobile client throughout this year as they are in development. But the actual merging into the BigBlueButton client, which is what we're using here for this presentation, the web client, that will be in 2.0, which of course will be after we ship 1.1. Other questions? Exactly, Oliver. So the Flash client today has the current UI. In 1.1, I'll be talking about that in the next presentation. We're working on closed captioning breakout rooms. We're not going to move to the new UI in the web client for 1.1. There's some good functionality we want to get in. I think the community would benefit from us getting that in sooner than later. And in parallel, we are working on 2.0, and 2.0 will use the new UI, which means all the functionality you see here will translate into the new UI, and that's what Tyler and others have been working on doing, is to lay that plan down. And these are the designs that we're sharing with you now, and looking forward to your feedback. So at the end, by 2.0, your user experience on an HTML5 client, on a mobile client, and on the web client, when I say the web client, the Flash client running in the browser, will all be unified, and it will be along the designs that Tyler's laid out. And that will be awesome. Other questions?
If anyone has any further questions or would like to chat about this after the call, feel free to reach out to me or Fred. But if you wanted to reach out to me, my email is copelandmedia@gmail.com. Be more than happy to jump on a Skype call just to further discuss any of your thoughts if needed.
Absolutely. We've taken the philosophy of let's try to get a UI that we think is going to encompass all, and then let's now, present something that we think is a pretty reasonable direction, and now get refinements from others. Okay, so what we'll do is I'm going to stop recording. Tyler, thanks a lot for the presentation.
Thanks everyone for participating in the UI update. Thanks.